Welcome back, Canadian boy. This one's pretty awesome. So I'm gonna pick something from our pixel art Discord community. You should totally join. There's a link in the description. Whoa, check this one out. You guys are too good. I can't even critique this. This is amazing. Okay, let's see if I could improve something about this one. By the way, a quick update on my game. I was working on the caravans this week. This is gonna be the shop right here. If you're new here, I'm a struggling indie game dev and I'd appreciate it if you followed the Kickstarter. Okay, so Sweet Cider draws very similar to the way that I do. So a lot of this stuff, the techniques are very, very similar. And I'm gonna try a few things, all right? They might not all be better or worse, but one of the things that maybe I would do to make the blade look extra sharp is add some white just to the tippy tip here, to some areas. I would probably brighten up, most of this. But you see how now that I added white there, it really looks super sharp, and it looks a little bit odd. We got to add it in more places, and you don't have to go all the way white. So what I can do is, I should have just used the line tool. So what you could do is, like, if that's too bright, oh, that looks pretty good, is I can click on this white, and then if you turn off contiguous in Sprite, by the way, there's a link in the description to this software if you want to use it. If I turn this off, and I'm going to choose the color red now just to show you, it'll change that color everywhere in the composition. So for example, if we're like, this white's a little too bright, I can make it a little darker and change all of it at once. So see, something like that. It could be even less. But the point is, I would probably make the edge a little bit brighter just to make it look sharp. And this right here, I love it. However, I think it's a little too dark. And the reason why I'm saying it's too dark is because it kind of makes it look like these objects aren't all one piece, you know? So a way that I like to choose colors is I'll go and choose this one here. I'll go to about halfway of the opacity, click here, and now you can see it made it brighter. And if I click there again with that opacity, I can keep basically modifying it and then just hit Control Z and Control Y and find the kind of like the shade that I like. So whatever, you know, maybe something like there or here. Oh wait, that's what it was before. Maybe it does look good with the high contrast. And then I love these little dinks you got going on. And something I just want to point out about these dinks, if anyone else is doing them, they're very simple to do. You take a brighter color and you put it on the bottom. And now what you don't want to do not make a dink. Oops, I need to turn contiguous off. Do not put dinks like at the top and then some on the side. You could do this. However, if we look at the preview here, it starts looking kind of weird. And the reason is because it looks good when they're all on the same side, like the bottom here, because of the angle of the lighting. So what this is actually kind of representing is, imagine this is almost like a shelf. Okay, this right here, you would see the lighting, but you wouldn't see it. You wouldn't see any of it from there because you're looking at this a little bit top down. So either put all of them near the top, the left, the right, or the bottom, and it'll seem more consistent. So I like that you did that. You know how to do that technique pretty good. And then this is another technique that I want to point out. This is an edge right here, and you could just leave it like that, or you could go darker. But I wouldn't go darker unless, of course, you have like outlines everywhere. But I personally like to put outlines only on the outside. But I do love that you create that there's a stronger separation of these two edges with a glare there. That's a good technique right there. So a little thing that you could do here with the teeth is that there could be a little bit of shading on the top here, actually, not just the bottom. And I'm actually gonna go even darker with this to kind of show you what I'm thinking. If you did shading here on the teeth, what it would do is it would make it look like this skull is actually sticking out a little bit more, and the teeth are like more like under it, if you know what I mean. So now if I zoom out, you see that? It kind of makes it look like the teeth are going a little bit in more. And then with the nose here, I think this is great. However, we could add a little bit more form if you do a little bit of shading like that in some parts of it. The eyeball here is amazing. There could be a tiny bit of shading in a few places to make it look like this is actually would need to be probably a lot darker. But what that does is it kind of just makes it look like there's some details that are a little bit like deeper in, but it makes it look a little bit less flat. Dude, that shading on that eye is so good. I love it. Fantastic. And then this handle here looks pretty good. I think you missed a pixel here, a couple of pixels. The whole thing looks actually a little bit shifted. The handle here is great. I like that there's shading here near the edge, but I would, even if you don't do outlines on your entire artwork, I think it's okay to put like an outline on one side and use it as shading. So for example, right here, that you could do it like this. And then something that I like to do is even go into the crevices with the outline like that. See how the black went into the crevices there? And that also helps show off the lighting of that. So that's a quick little tip. I think the shading is pretty good, but it might be a little bit too strong here. I can't tell if this is a shadow, for example, like right there. I can't tell if that's a shadow under the skull, or if it's actually the shading of the skull. So let's say it was the shading of the skull. What I would do is probably just like use another color there if it is shading, because that's a massive chunk of black. It might be too much. It could be a look that you go for, like sort of like a comic book look, but I don't know. And then with this horn here, it kind of looks like there's one horn, and this part's a little bit more difficult. But what I would do is I would take this horn and then take a second one and shrink it just a tiny bit so it looks like it has a little bit of depth, and then I would put that one behind there. You know, these indents here at the top of the head, the reason why I think they'd be better lighter is because the lighting would be less harsh up here. You know what I mean? So I wouldn't make them the same darkness everywhere. For example, here they're pretty dark, but right here by the eye, you know, maybe it's fine. Oops, maybe it's fine to do a darkness like that, and then even those these divots or whatever, these details, even they have a bit of lighting. So these, like right here, they look kind of too dark. I think, you know, something like that kind of will give it a little bit more form. But anyway, back to the horns here. All right, I think you get the idea. So basically what I was going for is that if you have the two horns there, it kind of gives it a little bit more depth, a little bit more perspective. They might not be in the perfect spot or whatever, but you get the concept. And with an animal skull like this, that's what I would expect. I would expect it to have two horns. If it did actually have one horn, then whatever, my bad. I like this highlight down here, and you can do the opposite, and near the top, do a shadow, and that'll just make it look more indented. It'll make it look more like an eye socket, you know. So I'll probably add that shading near the top right there. So this highlight here looks very square. To make it look a little bit less square, what you could do is have a part of it. I don't know if that made it better, but whatever. It was an idea. So I've had a bunch of people ask me if I'm still giving out Aseprite keys. I'm gonna give one out right now, but I'm gonna post it in the Discord community. So giving them a, oops, I should probably say what that is. No, I'm gonna give them first dibs on that Aseprite key, and then I'm gonna post a key on my Patreon. Shout out to my patrons, thank you very much. Any of you can ask me for a critique, and I'll put it into an episode. I'll see you guys next week. A Dev Live.